And welcome everybody to Saudi Arabia 2022 Formula One Grand Prix, the Arabian Grand Prix in the desert. And we're on the coast of the Red Sea here, of course. I don't fly drones, it was nothing to do with me. As you can see, there are plenty of bizarre things going on in Jeddah's high grip track surface will ensure Simons will go on and on about tyres in the podcast. Guaranteed. That's why we come to Saudi Arabia, because that's what we want to hear. Also, look at the great terrains. In Saudi Arabia, Max Verstappen is known for using the Force in the end of his Jeddah night. Little pun on Star Trek there. And I hope everybody appreciates the amount of effort that I go into writing those jokes, because they don't come from nowhere. Okay, Jeddah, of course, a fantastic place, and obviously known for many things, including the amount of buildings that they set on lights to celebrate Formula One Grand Prix. As you can see, spectacular scenery from the circuit, and well worth the price of admission. I think anybody would agree. So thank you very much to everybody. Could I also just say one last thing quickly, which is to say I'm so glad to be at one of the most boring circuits that we've ever had on Grand Prix. I hate this circuit with a passion, everybody. I don't see why we're here. It's dangerous. It's complicated. Although I have to say they've increased the safety factor a huge amount this year by moving some of the walls back, sometimes as much as up to a meter. So that's how much they care, and that's how much they admit that they misdesigned the racetrack. Anyway, moving on. I'm joined as always by the fantastic and fabulous Fabio, the expert Italian. You are an expert in all things, especially being Italian.
Yes.
So thank you very much for joining me. Invaluable. And also I'd like to say hello. I'll do it in English this week, but hello to my fellow Tifosi. So thank you very much for us joining me there. And welcome, basically, Cryptomania. Thank you very much for joining us. David Scargill, thank you also. And, of course, Gio, thank you so much for being here. Please keep an eye on the chat for us, Gio. Anybody gets out of line and starts suggesting that Max Verstappen is the best driver, please just ban them. And, Spooky's here. The Spooky is here. Thank you so much. Okay, look, I'm going to rattle on through and do my race review. So here we go. I'm just going to say that Saudi Arabian Grand Prix in Jeddah. Basically, yeah, it started with Tsunoda on the outlap, his car breaking down, yet another Red Bull engine breaking down. Then we went to the start. The start, of course, was Max Verstappen in pole, I think, Leclerc in second, Sainz third. So, who was?
Perez was in pole.
Perez was in pole. I beg your pardon. I'm just so unexpected. Perez got away to a flashing start, followed by Leclerc. Max Verstappen from fourth place up to third managed to get past Sainz, mainly because of Leclerc forcing him out on the first corner. But then onwards, there was some exciting racing down the field, of course. But more or less, that's how the race started. Russell got away to a fantastic, magnificent start as well. By lap 5, of course, the cars then started to overtake each other in proper, and we had a massive ding-dong battle between the two pink Mercedes of Alpine, which was, of course, Alonso and Ocon. This carried on for several laps, and it looked to be getting a bit tasty. After the race, they, of course, were happy with each other and said everything was fair. It didn't seem that way looking at the cars from the outside. In fact, it looked to be a little bit cutthroat, to say the least. So that's something to look on for the rest of the season, to see the Alpines racing each other. It was, of course, Alonso who got the upper hand in the end, and he was literally told to stay ahead. Managed to keep because they had to intervene with team orders. Lap 15, Perez came into the pit, early pit stop for him to do a 3 pit stops, and he had a fantastic pit stop. Got away with a very quick time, down in the 3 second. But literally straight after he got out of the pits, one of the Williams Was it Latifi? Yes, it was Latifi. As always, Latifi crashes at the most inopportune moment and causes everybody to panic. And that lost Perez the race from there. Both Ferraris were able to come in and stop, as well as Max Verstappen. Then the order reversed to Leclerc, Verstappen, Sainz, Russell, and then Perez. Perez managed to get ahead of Russell, though, by the time they exited the pits. There was a more interesting thing. Well, one of the things that happened was that, I should say, Perez, I keep getting this name mixed up with Verstappen, but Perez managed to get ahead of Sainz, although it turned out in hindsight that he didn't, because there is a line which they have to cross coming out of the pits, and the first across that line is first in line behind the safety car. It turned out that Sainz was, of course, the man that got it first across the line, and therefore, upon the restart, Perez had guaranteed to give him the place back. Of course, not having access to the pit radio, not having access to the FIA's radio anymore, we didn't know that. And of course, Perez then duly gave the position back in possibly the worst place possible for him, and he never managed to regain the place. Then we had the two pink Alpines racing one another again. Lap 36, Alonso unfortunately came to a shuddering halt. Lap 37, then I think it was Ricciardo came to a halt. All of these problems to do with basically to do with electronics, it seemed. In the heat, the cars just were giving up. Or hydraulics, it could have been, we don't know. But then Bottas on lap 38 also had a problem and had to retire. Lewis Hamilton took advantage of this because, of course, the safety car was brought out, and he managed to stay on his single stop and move up to 7th place just behind Russell. Lap 42, Verstappen and Leclerc. This was the interest in the race, lap 42. They had a ding-dong battle once again, passing each other, trying to repass each other, and of course, at one point, both slamming the brakes on as hard as they possibly could in order to let the other go first across the DRS detection line, which would gave them advantage down the straight. I think this is quite silly, and of course, this needs to be looked at. And I will certainly be questioning my co-host very closely on the ethics of using the DRS in such a way. However, eventually Max got the better and managed to overtake Leclerc using top speed, and that was fantastic. So then that put that put Verstappen into the lead, from which he did not manage to, or from which he'd never lost. And in fact, when they ended up at the end of the race, of course, the race positions became, and that's your hint, Peter. At the end of the race, it became in first place Max Verstappen, the fantastic Max Verstappen, won from 4th place on the grid to become. I'm giving it as much wording as I can here. He became 4th place on the grid, a lowly 4th place for Max Verstappen, considering to finish in the points quite high up. In fact, not just quite high up. Okay, I'm just going to pause for a minute until the producer gets his shit together.
The results.
The results?
Yeah. There you
And
go.
Max Verstappen started in 4th place and finished in 1st place. In 1st place was Max Verstappen, the great Dutchman who is going all out for his 2nd world title in a row. 2nd place, Charles Leclerc, the pasty pastry, who had a fantastic race, started from pole position, and was overtaken by superior race tactics by Red Bull. Nonetheless, a fantastic race for Charles Leclerc to keep in the lead of the World Championship. In 3rd place, of course, his ever-loving teammate in 3rd place was Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz there, he said he was disappointed with his position, but nonetheless, he gave it everything, and we are expecting much more when he gets back to Europe. In 4th place, Sergio Perez, very disappointed, had pole position and was just unlucky with the timing of the safety car, really. And there you go. That's how the cookie crumbles. He's been latifed. That's going to be a new saying for me. He has been latifed, just like Lewis was. Fifth place, of course. Fifth place is, as everybody knows, George Russell. A fantastic fifth place and well deserved as well because, of course, he kept his nose to the grindstone, kept putting in good times considering the car, and finishes in a well deserved fifth place ahead of Esteban Ocon, who again good team performance, and we're expecting great things from the rest of the year. I'm especially looking forward to the rivalry between himself and Alonso. In seventh place, good things for that team. Lando Norris, really well recovered considering the car didn't deserve it. So a great drive for Lando again. Good tactics, kept his nose clean throughout the race. Ahead of a very painful Pierre Gasly, who was suffering in the car immensely. A lot of heating problems in that car, and apparently he was screaming in agony at some points during the end of that race, but managed to drag it home. Brave man that he is, and that's we'd expect nothing less from the Frenchman Pierre Gasly. Ninth place, of course, it was Kevin Magnussen. Disappointing for Kevin, really, because he made good tactics by pitting in the second virtual safety car period, which we thought might get him higher up. Unfortunately, that wasn't to be, and only finished ninth. But nonetheless, still another points finish for Haas, followed by Lewis Hamilton, although there may be some dispute over this. Lewis Hamilton in 10th place, considering where he started, probably a decent result. Obviously disappointing for the Hamilton Meister himself. I can say when he got back in, he wasn't the most popular person in the trailer, and Roscoe didn't actually cuddle him for quite some time. I think they've made up now, though. 11th place, just to go through them quickly, Joe Ranjur. Obviously, disappointing for that car. It deserves to do better. Hulkenberg in 12th place. Good result for Hulkenberg, showing that he is a super sub and showing exactly where Stroll's position is. Oh dear. Oh dear. Stroll's going to be pissed again. 13th place, I should say. 13th place Stroll, finishing just behind. Alex Albon dragging the Williams up to 14th, but unfortunately didn't finish. One of many non-finishes, again due to temperature problems with the cars, heating problems, or cooling problems, I should say. 15th place. A lot of cooling problems happened. Bottas suffering from the same. Alonso, the same. 17th place. All cooling problems, these. 17th, Daniel Ricciardo, cooling problems. Latifi, the only one that didn't have a cooling problem, threw it in the wall. 19th place. Suzuki Tsunoda didn't even make the start, and Mick Schumacher threw it in the wall again. Did he? No, he didn't start. He threw it in the wall yesterday in qualifying, quite badly actually. And of course, they couldn't afford to replace the parts, so they decided not to start this race and build the car for next week. So that is the race results from Saudi Arabia. Myself, I was piss bored by it. Sir Lewis Hamilton, thank you very much. I'll get to those messages in a second. I was piss bored again by this circuit, and I am disappointed that they haven't made more of an effort to sort something else out. You would have thought, given the amount of money that they have down there, that they could have possibly removed some of the barriers completely and put even wider runoff areas. Who knows? There may have been other solutions. Again, disappointing in all. Well done to Max Verstappen, and it goes to show that we are going to have a close season if this is anything to go by. So I'd like to pass it over to my co-host here, Fabio the Great. And Fabio, how did you rate the race? Did you rate it? Did you mung it?
No, I will start from your last point. The track is really dangerous. It is extremely dangerous. I think this is the last year that it's from next year. It's going to be a permanent circuit, so I don't know what they will do. Uh, I think my feeling is that since last year in COVID, there's been a general relaxation of the requirements for the safety of the circuits. I mean, um, we couldn't race, for example, in Mugello, right? Because they said that the escape routes were not up to par, but because of COVID, yeah, okay, Mugello is fine. Same with Imola. So I think there's been some relaxation in the safety requirements for the circuits, and that one it is really dangerous. It's between the walls. We saw the accident that Mick Schumacher got in qualifying. I mean, after he was already ahead of Lewis, and then he crashed. So that's the only reason why Lewis started 15, because it was supposed to be started 16. But I digress. So he had two asses in front of him. But and it was a very bad accident. I mean, the guy didn't really suffer any problems. They decided not to make it race because I think the reasoning was that they would have had to rush rebuilding the car too much. They were not able, to guarantee, a proper car, especially for Australia. So
Yeah,
they
for
decided
Australia.
to go to, yeah.
No spares as well once they got to Australia. So
Yeah,
if they rebuilt
so
it, yeah.
and also, I mean, once you rebuild it, it's the car. So if you just half-ass it, you have problems in Australia too. So, I mean, they took that decision, which is, I mean, it's fine. But it's too bad for the guy. But again, I think given the crash that he went through, yeah, I mean, it was lucky already. There were problems. I mean, you talked about there were problems with reliability, especially for the power units part, and that's really it is funny because compared to last year, there's not been too many changes in the power units. The fuel is one thing, but they had times to sort it out. They also had. They also have more standard parts, and so I'm trying to go there to talk about the Mercedes power unit. It is not the power unit which used to be. It is true that Toto Wolff said Mercedes have they haven't got one problem; they've got different problems. Yes, but I think that and he's adamant that the engine is not one of that, or at least it's not the main one. I think that the engine has issues, and it's not just the Mercedes. It's also all the other cars which use the power unit. They have it doesn't look like the same engine as last year. So now I think that there are two factors to take into consideration. I don't think that the fuel is a major factor. I would say that maybe it's there are some standard parts that they have to use which are not. I mean, they just had to make something with the engine. And the other thing is which I think is the major part, is that even if the power units are the same, because of how the cars are built, the packaging is completely different. And packaging means relocating radiators, fuel lines, cooling lines, and all that shit.
Cooling, yeah.
So I think that, I mean, the repackaging of the existing power unit has caused some issues, and especially in the Mercedes engine. So that is about the reliability issues. You also touch about the DRS. I don't know if you want to talk about it.
Go ahead.
Before we go into the DRS, there is one thing and we've been saying that for years. So it's not that I'm saying this year because, that's the reason why Max Verstappen, which wasn't able to catch up with Leclerc because he was constantly losing from Leclerc. There was only one instance where he was able to gain, I think, 0.6 of a second or stuff like that. And it's because of the fucking virtual safety car. I mean, it's uncanny. I mean, it really is shit. There is no way around it. If DRS is shit, the virtual safety car is total shit.
Yeah, virtual safety car, you mean? Do you?
Yeah, the virtual safety car. Sorry. Unfortunately, I don't see a good solution for that because so they tried in F2 to put the rev limiter, and they told me that they cannot do that in F1 because if they put like a rev limiter like 130 kilometers an hour, then people will race in the slower corners, right? So that apparently is not a thing. If you take it less than 130, like 80 kilometers an hour, I mean, the engine will blow up because they don't get cold enough. I think, I mean, there must be something. I mean, one solution that I see might be that you could have a rev limiter for sections of the track. So when there is the danger, you engage, the rev limiter in that section of the track. And that would also cover the problems with the rev limiter in all the track. That depending on where you take off the rev limiter, you have a lot of advantage. But if you could, if you could, slice the track in sections and say, okay, this is a section where it needs, like instead of virtual safety car, you have to engage that rev limiter. I think that would be better. But again, they have to find a solution. It's been going on for years. And we've seen that behavior ever since the beginning. Delta times. For some reason, it doesn't fucking work.
Well, notice there was in the radio.
You're breaking up.
Oh, there we go.
I can't hear you.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
Try now.
1, 2. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So one of the things that happened in particular was
no, you're roboting really bad, man. I don't know if it's just me, Peter. Is it the same for you too?
Yeah, he's frozen and roboting.
It's frozen now. Yeah.
Thomas, you might want to refresh the screen and come back. Maybe.
So yeah, I mean, I'll keep carry on. Yeah, while Simon sorts his technical difficulties, he probably has some. So he also talked about the Mercedes in general, and Lewis specifically had a really bad qualifying. He got 16th, and I think it was since 2005 that Lewis Hamilton did not manage to pass Q1. If you don't consider accidents and stuff like that, while he was on a McLaren. Apparently, one of the reasons why, and that would explain also the main difference between him and Russell's performances, is because they tried to go with an extreme setup on Lewis Hamilton car. I don't know what they meant by extreme, but apparently they did something radical. It didn't work out at all. Actually, they were thinking about having Lewis start from the pit lane so that they could be able to change the setup in some way before the race start. They didn't do that because, well, first of all, the track is quite difficult, and also they were probably relying on the fact of some safety car and stuff like that to make him gain a little bit of positions. I don't know, but regardless, they didn't risk that kind of approach. What else?
Can I just check, see if I'm okay now?
Yes, you're fine. Yes.
Okay, wonderful.
So, and yeah, the DRS, it's I think it's inevitable. I would love not to have the DRS, but I think that there is no solution to that. What I would suggest is that instead of having so many zones with the DRS, they might have only one. That might be a solution, because this year we saw that, even this second race, we saw that it is possible for the car to follow up closely and for a longer time than last year. But the problem with this year especially is that the draft is not really that powerful. So if you want to overtake somebody, you need a DRS. There is literally no way around it. They could reduce it. I think this is where Samos was going to go, and I agree with that. Instead of having so many areas, they might have only one area. But I see that as some kind of unnecessary evil if you want to see some action.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So two things. Firstly, just to get back to the virtual safety car, Max Verstappen was complaining that he dropped too far back, up to 4 seconds back, when the second virtual safety car back, and he was indirectly accusing Leclerc of breaking the rules, like he did several times throughout the race, because he also accused him of driving over the line for the pit entry. Yeah. 3 times, I think, and not once did he actually get even slightly penalised or under investigation. So, no, I think this is just Max Verstappen being a whinger that we will come to know and love in the future years. Go ahead.
You know why they never investigated Leclerc for, I think he put 2 tires on the pit entry line at the restart. And you know why they never did that? Because Max did exactly the same thing in qualifying.
Wow. Okay.
Right, and they decided not to investigate it because it was the way that the track is shaped. It doesn't give you any advantage at all.
Yeah, so, obviously there's no advantage there. So.
Yeah,
I mean it's just a ridiculous thing. But
yeah,
also,
but he also complained because of the lights were not working. He complained about
he did. The lights,
which wasn't cool enough in his mouth, or I don't know, the weather maybe. I don't know. I think it comes with the fact of being a world champion. The whole package includes whinging and whining.
I think maybe. I think he's just used to, I think he's used to having to fight Lewis, where it seems like everything is against him. You know what I mean? So this year he started off in that mode, all right, where he's going to be the one whinging this year. Not realizing that he's against Ferrari, and whinging does you no good against Ferrari. They seem to have the FIA in their pocket half the time.
Holy shit! Really? Again?
Again! It's not forgotten. It's not forgotten. I remember 1989. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Okay. Moving on. Look, I'm just saying. Okay, so we have a couple of questions which I want to get just your opinion on first. How many more test results can Vettel get away with falsifying this season? Because he's been saying he's still having negative results, and I just want to address that quickly, which is the actual fact of it is the team have to return a positive test result. And until they return a positive test result, then it's sort of deemed that the driver isn't cleared to race. So it's not that he has to take a test, and then if the test is negative, he can't race. It's that actually the team have to return a positive test result, and they can do that anytime they want. So I would imagine he has got over it now. But obviously there is some stuff which, he must have said, I'm not going to Saudi, with their record and et cetera. Go ahead, Fabio, while I load up the next one.
There is an interesting side story about the old Vettel thing. Of course, Hülkenberg is the substitute for Vettel. And I don't know if many of you remember when Magnussen was driving for us before. He had that exchange with Hülkenberg at the time. Was driving a Renault while he was having the interview, and Hülkenberg came, and touched. Oh yeah, the most sportsman, driver, stuff like that. And Magnussen, while he was being interviewed, he told him, "Suck my balls, sweetheart," or stuff like that. And so apparently, Hülkenberg got to Magnussen this weekend, and he cheered him by telling him, "Hey, suck my balls, sweetheart." So yeah, what's that funny thing?
Yeah, that was a good one. Somebody put it in a meme as well that I saw online. But there you go. Okay, K-Mag must be the best driver, right? How the hell did he get that Haas up there again? And the Haas is, obviously the Ferrari is a great power unit. which is why I think, which is a really good point here, David, because I think it's why Binotto said they got to look into the low wing settings that Red Bull were using, because I think it's quite clear that if Red Bull had used a lower, if Ferrari had used a lower drag setup, then potentially Leclerc would have easily got back past
Yeah.
Verstappen and therefore would have won the race. Of course, these are all ifs and buts, and
No,
like Beata said, they're just going to have to investigate it and have a look at what they might have done otherwise. Go ahead.
no, that is true. I would also say that both us and Alpha, but I think us is superior in that they also made a very nice car. I mean, it's not just. I mean, the power unit is something which we can notice because on the Alpha 2 it works very well so far. But I also think that the US has a really interesting car this year. It's a brand new project with a brand new project leader, Simone Resta, ex Ferrari, now in Dallara, stuff like that, and is really, I mean, he's a great guy, he's a great engineer, and apparently they did something, which works. So yeah.
There you go. Okay. Badger, welcome, Badger. Thank you for stopping by. We really appreciate the click. Don't mind me. I'm just here for familiar voices, not up on the topic in the slightest. That's perfectly all right. If you stay with us long enough, you will be. And then, okay. And David says, I heard Max Verstappen didn't get his Mother's Day card. Oh, intrigue upon intrigue. That's all I'm saying. I heard that Leclerc sent her one. So there you go.
Yeah,
It's bit spicy. Bit spicy.
which is a shame because in Max's family, she is a way better driver than his dad. No. She was a way better driver than his dad. Result by result, yeah, she was way faster than his dad. So,
Oh my god, we used to take the piss out of Jos Verstappen so much back in the day. But there you go. There you go. There was one other thing I just wanted to mention quickly. Vettel obviously determined and said a few more things about Saudi Arabia. Why the fuck are they there, basically, considering their human rights record? So there was that. Other than that, I think we're about done.
No, just one more thing. You're right about the different setups that Red Bull and Ferrari had. Apparently Ferrari had a higher downforce. They were losing something about, I think, 5 to 6 kilometers an hour at the very end of the straight. It is not super clear if it was because it was clipping or it was because of higher downforce, but still, they went for a slightly different approach. But yeah, that was true. Even the data showed that most of the corners, Ferrari was definitely faster in the slower corners than Red Bull, and that brings another interesting point. Where I think that the Ferrari package right now is a little bit ahead of the competition in terms of setup, is the fact that with this car, one of the most difficult things is to find downforce from everything but the ground, right? So now they are all focusing on the ground. The next big challenge will be to make the other 40% of the downforce, which is coming from the wing, work properly. And in this aspect, at least Ferrari, it looks like that it is a little bit ahead of the competition because they have a faster car in slower corner. Which is something that, I mean, forget about Mercedes. It's something that, Red Bull, it's not there yet. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, one thing that was really interesting, actually, when they were talking about the low downforce settings, and also the porpoising, which seemed to return a little bit, was that somebody implied that it was the B wing that was the solution that Red Bull had found to deal with porpoising on their car. Just thought I'd throw that in. That was something I
Yeah.
heard in the whisperings, and whether that's true or not. So let's look out for B-wing updates at the next European round, which I think is in 3 weeks or 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Before you go on, that's another very interesting point. Is the budget cap. Mercedes and Red Bull have already started, well, not complaining, but they already started, whining that they want to raise the budget cap. Ferrari hasn't, and
Hmm.
Mercedes and Red Bull have already brought a lot of new parts. Just those from the test, first race and second race, and it's not near as many parts as Ferrari has. I mean,
Yeah.
Ferrari's brought really fewer parts. Now they're complaining about raising the budget cap a little bit because I mean that will leave less money to develop. Because again, that goes about the thing I said before, that right now it seems to be that the Ferrari package is working a little bit better from the get-go. And then they will have to develop stuff like that. But yeah,
I mean, there was a statement out by Ferrari saying that they hadn't brought any update parts.
yeah, maybe.
Every
Yeah,
other
I mean
team, every other team had brought update parts from Europe to Saudi Arabia.
yeah,
So it just goes to show you, ostensibly that car is fast out of the box. They got
yes,
the cooling right, more importantly, because this is one of the things. And secondly, that they're not relying too much on their downforce from under the car. That
yeah,
actually the top of the car is the design which is allowing them just to get out there and do the job right and use the power of the engine in the right way. So ostensibly, I mean, it's looking great for the rest of the season. That's all, because we know Red Bull will be fast. We know Mercedes will at some point get their shit together and have a much faster car than they've currently got. And so the fact that we know that Ferrari have got the tools to respond is just bodes really, really well, I think, for a hot action all season. So I'm really glad. Another quick question from David here. Thank you, David, for your questions. I really appreciate them. I did press the button, but it hasn't come up yet. It says here,
oh, it's
no,
okay.
stop
No, it
working.
was me.
Oh, there we
Sorry.
go.
Yeah, sorry about that.
How high do you think Hamilton could have finished if they'd got the strategy right, Fabio?
I don't know. I mean, not too fast. I think that we said before the setup was weird. They made an extreme one and it wasn't working. So I don't think it would have too many chances. I mean, some cars got. Let's not forget he got 10th because at least 3 cars ahead of him, or at least 2 cars ahead of him, just stopped. So
Yeah, no, I do think I don't think he would have finished any higher up. Magnussen, who did get the strategy right, he went on the harder tyres as well and came through the pack. Magnussen did manage to pit in that brief little window where they could have got into the pit stop when I think it was I think it was Alonso who finished, who stopped just before the pit lane. Magnussen managed to get into the pit lane under the virtual safety car and pit then, and still only finished one place ahead of Hamilton. So at best, if he got his strategy right, potentially he could have finished one place higher.
yeah.
But of course, as Fabio says, the only reason he's in the point is because of the failures of many cars. So there you go. I think that's fair. And I'd also just like to point out we have a lot. We're going to a lot of hot countries nowadays, and this is a bad sign. Okay, because this genuinely means that the cars are not going to be. They're not going to be at top performance levels. So it's always going to be a compromise. It's going to be a compromise a lot of the time. And even when we get to Europe, if Europe has a hot summer, then of course that means that we're going to be compromising the setups again for the European circuits as well. So I don't think there's going to be many circuits where we actually have the cars going flat out from lights out to flag, basically. Go ahead, Fabio.
No. I just want to point out that right now Ferrari has more points than Red Bull and Mercedes combined in the championship. I just want to leave it there.
Grazie mille a
Yeah.
tutti, grazie
Actually,
I'm Italian.
there is another thing I want to point out. You were talking about Lewis before, so I'll just say and leave it there. Right, in 2005, Michael Schumacher had a really shitty car. Like the car was wrong. They
Yeah.
also had problem with the tires and all that stuff. Regardless, he managed to finish third in the championship. I just leave it there.
Okay. Thank you so much. We'll see where Russell finishes. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, I
I'm
don't know.
afraid. Yeah, we gotta be really careful to Russell. Because right now he seems to be that he's pulling a Leclerc on Hamilton the same
Yeah.
way that Leclerc pulled it on Vettel. So
Yeah.
it's got to be really careful.
Absolutely. Although I do think there was something else wrong with Hamilton's car. I think he'd gone for a particular type of setup which just wasn't working. In fact, I think Mercedes didn't have a low downforce setup for their car, and that's the problem. Like somebody said, that what they actually did instead of bringing a new wing is that they cut apart or pieces off their old wing. Right, so they literally took the high downforce wing and cut some of the carbon fiber off it in order
Yeah,
to make it into a lower downforce wing. But that's never
we
going to be a low downforce wing setting,
no
and that's what
no.
that's what Red Bull did. They actually brought a low downforce wing. Go ahead.
We briefly talked about it while you were trying to reconnect stuff. That the fact that Lewis they tried and whatever, I mean, they call it like an extreme setup which didn't work, and that was one of the main differences in performances between him and Russell. So
Yeah. Okay. Jolly good. Okay. So I think that's everything. Thank you so much, Fabio. That's fairly comprehensive. So I'd like to just find out. We, of course, as always, sent our pitman Peter to the Grand Prix. We paid for a camel ride from Bahrain to Saudi Arabia. I hope he didn't get too wet. And I hope you enjoyed the travel. Oh, I can see you're in Saudi Arabia. I can tell that because of the scenery.
Yes.
How are you, Peter?
I'm still enjoying the remains of the fireworks display that started everything off. Yeah, it was a nice.
Indeed.
It was a nice.
Somebody told me that Somebody told me you lost the drone present that we sent you, the drone camera.
Yes, somehow that went wrong. It crashed somewhere. I have no idea where. I have to go look for it. But I don't know.
We'll look at the footage later.
Yes,
So I'm sure there's no problems. Yeah.
There should be footage uploaded to the cloud. Not sure if that's the cloud behind me, but we'll have to wait and see. But
Good
yeah,
point.
I mean,
okay.
What an exciting weekend. I mean, who knew that after the second race, we would be in the middle of silly season where everything happens. And I haven't heard either of you talk about that. So we'll have to get to that.
No, well, we've been leaving it for you, Peter. We were warned off.
Yes. Well, so let's get to one of the most exciting comments made in the paddock. And we'll go to our first screen, and that's this good man. He said
last year for 2 points. I mean, I would have fucked the whole paddock.
He would have fucked the entire paddock if he had 2 points. And so I'm not saying that he didn't. I'm also not saying that he did, but we have some footage from the Haas garage, and I don't know. It looks like something happened. But again, that's not the most important part of the weekend. The most important part of the weekend is this. This is a website in the United States, obviously famous for being very accurate when it comes to Formula One news. And they had not only the results, but they had the shifts that are happening. And you didn't know this. So you didn't know
What am I looking at? You've lost me on the punchline again, sir.
No.
What's going on?
It's coming. It's coming.
I beg your
sure.
pardon. I'm premature. I beg your pardon.
Yeah, you always come too soon. People have told me that. But so we had Max Verstappen win and Charles Leclerc coming in second. But then if we slightly move up, we see the first surprise. Carlos Sainz driving for Mercedes, which I didn't know. I hadn't even noticed during the race. But let's continue. Then on fourth, we have Sergio Perez also driving for Mercedes, which is strange. Then we've got George Russell, who drives a Haas, apparently. Another thing I didn't know. Esteban Ocon suddenly drives for Alfa Romeo. We go to Lando Norris, who obviously drives for Alpine. Another shift. Pierre Gasly is still with AlphaTauri, so that's reassuring for the people at Red Bull that they at least have that. Then we get to Kevin Magnussen, who now also is driving for Alpine. So, yeah, everyone has shifted. Lewis Hamilton went to and drive for Alfa Romeo because obviously he has seen the Butler has the better car. So he's hopping over to Alfa Romeo. Then we see Zhu Guanyu, who switched to Haas, to the second car. And we'll come back to that later. Then we see Nico Hulkenberg still at Aston Martin, replacing Vettel. Lance Stroll has shifted to Williams. Obviously because of the fact that Hulkenberg beat him in his dad's car. He's mad. So shouldn't have happened. Alexander Albon, who didn't finish, drove a McLaren, which I wasn't aware of. Then Valtteri Bottas also drove a McLaren and didn't finish. Fernando Alonso made the move to Williams, so I'm not sure what happened with Alpine there. But yeah, Daniel Ricciardo is now driving for Aston Martin, which is kind of weird. Then we have Nicholas Latifi, who finally got his recognition for crashing all the time. He was drawn in by Red Bull as their second driver to make sure that he can crash enough to keep Max on course for his second World Championship. Then we've got Yuki Tsunoda, who is still with AlphaTauri. And then last, we've got Schumacher, who is also driving a Haas, which explains why Haas didn't repair his car, because apparently, according to this website, Haas will now have 3 cars in the championship, which is another surprise. For people, it really says this, Saudi Arabia Grand Prix as it happened. And so for the people who are curious, I shall put in the link to the website just to show you that I did not make this shit up. This is literally what happened and how they reported about the race in the United States. So, Simus, your response on Hamilton going to Alfa Romeo. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm very pleased. I'm very pleased, of course. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Am I there?
I kept checking the website.
Yeah.
It's still up. So we'll have to wait. We'll have to wait and see if
interesting.
Interesting
indeed.
6 out of 20, not bad.
That's what happens. Damn computers. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
yeah. Sorry, Spooky. You have mentioned to keep an eye on Peter's expenses. You can see why we pay him the big bucks, though, can't you? So that's fair enough.
This is why I get paid the big bucks. I brought the news that Lewis Hamilton left Mercedes first. You heard it here first.
Mm-hmm. Less than stellar coverage from Gio. Yeah, I agree. Less than stellar coverage in the USA. However, things will be changing, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, now we've got this new media company taking over Formula One. Anyway, there we go. And Badger says, even I found that funny. Yeah. Okay. There we go. I can't say anything more than we'll be sending you pizza to your house to stay when we do the British Grand Prix. Okay. Thank you, Badge.
One thing I did want to ask, because there's a new rule in Formula One, and that is that if a driver gains an advantage, it's no longer a call made by the stewards that he has to give the place back. They're putting that into the hands of the teams themselves, and I think Red Bull was pretty creative with that rule. Having Perez wait until the end of the virtual safety car to give the place back. So what do you guys think?
I don't think they could have. They couldn't have swapped during the safety car, because that breaks the safety car rules. You're not allowed to overtake any positions when the safety car's on track. So.
They could have. They could have.
Well, they could have, but then again, the teams couldn't have. That's what I'm saying, right? I mean, so if they'd recognised the penalty,
I agree with you that was.
And they could have ruled on it. Yeah,
that was the smart move to make. I agree with you, because by leaving it there, well, first of all, they were safe that Sainz could not attack Verstappen, and stuff like that. The rule has changed. You're right, Peter. Now the rule says that the teams have to make the call. And if they don't make the call before the steward have decided on the infringement or whatever, the steward will assign the penalty. So they have by the time that they reach a decision, the teams have the power to fix that thing. This is what happened. Yeah, you're right with Sainz and Perez.
I've got to say, nothing changed there, though, Fabio. That they got on to the race director and said, and then the race direction said, no, you need to give the place back.
No, but it's different, because now...
You know that happened, though, don't you?
No, you're right, but now it's different, because now the race director will not tell them, give the position back. He will tell them, he will give them like a 10-second penalty or a drive-through or a stop and go.
Right.
The steward will not tell them, again to exchange the position. That is not going to happen.
Oh no, but they will say, we're going to look at it, right? They will, and nothing's changed in that situation. Yeah. That's all I'm saying. I know they're telling us it has changed, but it hasn't really. It's still negotiation with the team. The team then go, oh, okay, we'd rather do it ourselves. Fair enough.
So, and by the way, the old steward situation, I don't know what you guys think about it, but this weekend I was actually sad that Masi was not there, because they fucked everything up on so many levels that it beggars belief. Let's forget about the virtual safety car for a second. Lewis and I think it was Ocon, they had the same thing that Sainz and Perez. Exactly the same thing. You can watch it, because that was they make a rerun and they showed it. The difference was that Sainz was so on the ball that he immediately complained. So they looked into it, and apparently Lewis did not realize that. So no investigation, nothing happened, no shit. But it's not that I want to talk about. I want to talk about the Saturday, the F2 race. That was, Masi is a fucking masterpiece, and he's the genius. He should be there, because if that's the result. So what happened, really briefly, what happened in F2, there was an accident at a certain point. So the race direction says all the car must drive through the pit, okay? I can't remember the name of the guy, but he was in front at the time. So keep in mind that, so the safety car is waiting at the end of the straight. The cars are coming. It's double yellow. It already says you got to drive through the pit. The first car drives through the pit. All the other ones don't. So this poor bastard drives through the pit. He rejoins his 12th, right? And he was first. And he starts complaining. Now, in the meantime, there is another signal from the race direction says pit lane closed. Now, what happens is that, there was some back and forth. The guy said, give me back my fucking position. I was first. I was the only one. I mean, was I supposed? And apparently what happened is that from the pit, the team asked twice to the race direction, should we drive to the pit? And they answered to them, yes, twice. The thing is that when the guy got into the pit, apparently half a second before he joined the pit lane, they closed the pit lane. So, no, hold on, because that's get better. Not only the guy did not get his position back, he was penalized of a stop and go. 10 seconds stopped.
Didn't he get a drive-through?
Yeah, he got a drive-through or a 10 seconds, stop.
Yeah. Which is more like a, I mean, it's ridiculous, right? It's completely ridiculous. They'd already fucked the race up for him. They just threw the extra book in order to make it seem like they were following the rules, because they're now super conscious. I was
just waiting for 3 or 4 dudes when the race was over to take the guy off the car and flog him, because that was okay. Do you want to spit in his face too? I don't know. Do you want to kick him in the balls?
Yeah.
That was insane. So
and
resurrection.
And again, I have to say, when the second safety car went out, when that car was stopped at the beginning of the pit entry, right? It was the same thing, right? Yeah. Magnus drove straight into the pits.
Yes.
Right? Now, when Lewis came around the corner, there was clearly the signs were saying pit closed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and yet they were literally behind each other. So how did Magnussen get in and Lewis not get in? That's what I want to know. And well, I didn't see any camera of it, but I'm just saying. Go ahead.
I listened to the radio, and that apparently might also have been, a mistake from Mercedes, because they told him pit when he was already.
He was too close.
With the.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. He was already where the wall is, so he couldn't get in.
Yeah.
So
yeah. But all I'm saying is Magnussen got into the pit.
Yes.
Right, and yet Lewis comes around the corner and there's a pit close sign. How is that possible?
I mean, again, that honestly, I don't remember. I remember on the radio,
I'm saying.
Mercedes
and you couldn't see. You can't see. There is no view of Magnussen entering the pit.
No,
but my guess is there was a pit close sign there.
No, what I'm just saying is that if the call from Mercedes would have come earlier, Hamilton would have got in the pit too.
Yeah, but that was on the next lap. That was the next lap, Fabio. That was the next lap after Magnussen pitted. If Hamilton had 3 laps, he could have got in.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. So that it doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, Mercedes fucked up clearly. That's I don't want to say Mercedes made a mistake, because as you both know very well, Mercedes
they don't make mistakes. They don't make mistakes.
They don't make mistakes.
Except with Lewis's car this weekend, maybe.
No, it wasn't a mistake.
That wasn't a mistake.
It's impossible. They don't make mistakes.
No, that was just an unfortunate happening, which wasn't a mistake. But anyway, there we go. So let me just go back to a car. We've got an interesting question that I did see. Here it is. Oh, yeah, David Cargill. Thank you, David, for your interesting questions. I really like Ferrari feigning the box call to the pits.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it was a feign, but it was definitely tactics well played by Ferrari. Would you like to explain that to us?
Yeah, they asked him.
Lap 15, I think this was.
Yeah, they told Leclerc to do the opposite of what Red Bull was going to make.
Yeah, so and then they said box several times on the radio.
Yes, they said box because so this is how it happens. So the driver knows that they're ready for the box, because immediately after that they told him do the opposite of what Paris does.
Yeah, which is standard. That is standard behavior. Okay, but let's just bear in mind the situation, because this is what made this call genius, as far as I'm concerned. And in some sense, they tricked Red Bull into doing this.
Yes,
because Red Bull,
because the people got out of with the tires, so they thought it was going to box. Yes,
sure. Because not just that. What I'm getting to is that at the time, Red Bull had already reported that their tires were losing grip, and that they were thinking about boxing. And Ferrari reported that their tires were okay, and it could at least hang on a few more laps, three, 4 laps, whatever, which obviously would give them a huge advantage. Okay, and that is the moment that Ferrari chose to give this faint box signal. Okay, so I don't even think that they meant box. I think they were literally just trying to force Red Bull into boxing early.
Yes.
I'm curious because
again shows. Hang on a minute. Which shows exactly how on the ball they are with the pit strategies. Yes. One thing Mercedes have been lacking desperately in the last God knows how many years is this pit strategy awareness, being able to read a track at that moment and react quickly. And I am amazingly, I'm so pleased that Ferrari have done this to Red Bull, and that it really seems like we're going to get strategy calls all year long, which are going to be just very clever and keep us on the edge of our seats. So I just want to say that was my reading, David, of the Ferrari deal. Go ahead.
I'm curious because Ferrari didn't just say box. They said box to overtake. Is it possible that there was a hidden message in that? Because
it's part of the feint, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
This is but usually they would just say box, not box to overtake, because every other team will be able to hear your radio.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious if that wasn't an extra message that would have given him the idea. We're trying to trick someone. If he comes in, you carry on.
Well, okay, fair enough. Let me just finish off with this here, really, which is to say that no, I think either way it would have gone. If Red Bull hadn't have pitted and Ferrari pitted, they still would have had an advantage, because they would have been able to use the undercut. And if Red Bull pitted and Ferrari didn't pit, Ferrari still would have had the advantage, because A, younger tyres, and B, their tyres were still giving good performance. So they wouldn't have lost as much, and hence would have been able to overtake again at the very worst. So I think it was a win-win strategy for Ferrari either way there. But that's another point.
Yeah, tire degradation was so less on Ferrari than Red Bull. That was uncanny. And one of the reasons why Max was able, to do what he did is also because of the safety car and stuff like that. He managed to save some tires while he wasn't able to do that at race pace. So.
Yeah. So, okay. I'm going to wrap it up there because we've been an hour now. So, Peter, did you have any last words?
No, I'm just curious what Mercedes will not get wrong in Australia. We'll have to see.
Yeah, what mistakes they won't make in Australia. I'm looking forward to being at Australia. They have changed the track, and I believe it's 2 weeks away, and really looking forward to it. It's a much faster track. And it won't be as dangerous as the one we're at now, but nonetheless. Speckle's going live, everybody. If you could go and rate her YouTube channel, that would be great. And thank you so much, Fabio. Thank you so much,
welcome.
Peter.
Cheers, guys.
We will see everybody in 2 weeks' time for the next show at, of course, Australia.
Yes.
And thank you so much for everybody.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Peter, over to you.